The movie begins with a scene, 25 years ago, where voices of a mother and her daughter can be heard indistinctively. Immediately we are taken to a firefighter department, where we meet a young man named Caleb who is to be a senior officer among his colleagues in the company. The scene changes to Phoebe Putney Memorial Hospital, where we meet a decent lady named Catherine, Caleb's wife, as she arrives at her workplace. She is met by a senior doctor who seems to take some interest in her, to which even the receptionists take note of. The movie shifts to a home setting where we see Catherine visiting her ailing mother who is not able to talk. Catherine is obviously disturbed by her condition, wishing that she was able to talk because she needs her advice. The movie takes us back to Caleb's house, where we get to learn that the couple, Caleb and Catherine, are having issues in their marriage. Caleb is mad at his wife, whom she blames for not being responsible since Caleb never finds cooked food at home. On her side, Catherine blames Caleb for negligence, always being on television and on the internet and not being mindful of her. The two cannot tolerate each other. Caleb heads to the gym to escape her toxic wife, and there he meets his friend and colleague at work, Michael. After exercising, Caleb points out to Michael how she is barely coping with her wife who does not respect him nor care about him, to which Michael responds that he has also been in the same shoes and he understands. While asked how he overcame, Michael says, "It was through the help of a counselor." The movies takes us back to Caleb's house, where the chaos between the two continues. Caleb even leaves the house at night and hits everything he meets on the way, before he realizes his neighbor Mr. Rudolph was watching him all along. In a following scene we see Catherine having dinner with her friends and colleagues, who terribly advises her not to submit to her husband and to stand her ground. She breaks down as she realizes that her marriage is at the blink of falling apart. We are introduced to a different scene, where two young men and two young ladies who are heading to a party, meet on the road in their cars, and decide to race against each other in order to know who will pay for the bills at the party. While Caleb and colleagues are relaxing at the workplace, immediately the siren goes on, a sign that an emergency had just taken place. They all rush out, and on arriving at the scene, the four young adults who were competing to the party, had gotten involved in a fatal accident that have wrecked their bodies between the shuttered cars. The worst of the cases is that one car has crashed right on the railway track and a train is already on the way coming. With no cranes or forklifts, the firefighters are left without an option but to lift the car wreck with the two girls inside with their hands and hopefully get it out of the railway track before the train arrives. With the help of bystanders, the men fight tooth and nail to shift the car and saves the lives of the girls trapped inside, risking their own lives as well. Michael is so emancipated by the incidents, and can only thank the Lord for saving his life, as he misses death by an inch. The scene shifts to Caleb's parents' home, where Caleb has gone to seek for advice concerning his marriage which is about to break. His father takes him out and tries to give the young man advice on the best way to save his marriage, which Caleb rejects, calling it religion, but the father promises to send him a package later that would be of help to him. The movie immediately shifts to the hospital cafe, where we see Dr. Keller, besides being married, continues to make advances towards Catherine, who seems to get along with him, citing the marital crisis she and her husband are going through. In the following scene, we see Michael also giving Caleb a piece of advice on why he should not give up on his marriage, to which Caleb responds by blaming her wife for insubordination. Later we see Caleb checking his mails, only to find the package that his dad had sent him as he had promised. The package is a diary that contains a 40-day journey of self-evaluation and development in order to become a better person and consequently a better husband. Caleb begins reading the diary immediately and also starts exercising everything the book teaches. All over a sudden, Catherine realizes weird behavior from her husband, especially the unusual kindness, which she speculates to have some ulterior motives. As her friends advise her, she believes that Caleb wants to lure her into an idea and escape with all their fortune. Which is quite the opposite. As a result, all of Caleb's efforts to win her back are frustrated, which discourages him greatly. He almost quits doing what the diary instructs, but with the encouragement of Michael and his dad, he surges on. All this while, we see Catherine and Keller getting closer and closer. They too go out for coffee dates together, and Keller even buys her a rose and sends her letters. In a following scene, we see Caleb making attempts to even prepare a candle dinner for his wife, but he is greatly disappointed as Catherine could not believe anything he is doing to be genuine. Frustrated and discouraged, Caleb calls his father, who invites him over to the village once more. While there, his father brings him to the place of facing the truth and helping him to know that all his efforts will remain futile and fruitless if he continues to engage them without first engaging Christ in his own life. A point at which Caleb surrenders his life to Christ. His father prays for him, and in the next scene we see Caleb at his workplace, testifying to Michael, who is already a Christian, that he had now joined him in the faith. Michael is much delighted at the news, embraces him and congratulates him on taking the bold life decision. He also advises him that henceforth he needs to focus on changing his heart, as that was the only solution to his marital crisis. Immediately we are drawn to an emergency response by the firefighters, where Caleb and his colleagues head to a rescue mission. On arrival, they meet a house on flames, and after inquiring they find out that there was a girl trapped inside. Caleb gets into the blazing house with the help of his colleagues. The house is fully smoked, and the attempt to save the girl almost seems impossible. He boldly dodges the flames, and landing where the girl was, he realizes though the girl is alive, she had passed out due to lack of oxygen. Since he cannot go back by the front door, he decides to break into the basement in order to save the girl after all his screams on the window goes unheard. He surges through falling wooden blocks on fire while holding the girl tightly and makes it to the basement. The colleagues come to their rescue. The scene shifts to the hospital where Catherine works, and Caleb with all the survivors of the fire horror have been taken for checkup. Though his wife comes and finds him being taken care of by a nurse, she does not show any sympathy and instead mocks him and leaves, since Dr. Keller was also among those attending to him. The movie shifts to Caleb's house, where we see him sitting in front of his computer. At this point we realize that Caleb has been an addict of pornography, a vice that has caused great rift between him and Catherine. One of the instructions from the diary suggests that he gets rid of every parasite in his life which is sucking his energy and destroying him. Caleb realizes that his addiction has been a terrible parasite, and he decides to do away with it by first destroying the very object he was using to access the sites. He smashes his computer into pieces and replaces the computer with beautiful flowers and a message to his wife. Though she finds it, Catherine cannot bring herself to believe anything that Caleb is doing. Immediately we see Caleb holding some papers in his hands and breaking down, realizing that his wife had actually gone ahead to file for a divorce. The scene shifts and we see Catherine glad to receive the news that the wheelchair that her mother needed, which she had been raising fund for, had been fully paid for and taken to her at home. Catherine goes ahead to thank Keller, whom she believes must have been the person who funded the project. Back at home, Caleb discovers the letter that Keller, also named Gavin, had sent to his wife. He heads straight to the hospital and confronts the man, warning him to stay away from his wife. Catherine somehow misses out on the incidents, after which, Dr. Keller changes his plan for their dinner date and actually stays off her. In a following scene, we see Caleb coming back from his morning routine, only to find his wife's bag and car keys on the couch, showing that she had not reported to work that day. Caleb immediately heads to her room, since the two sleep in different bedrooms, where she finds her lying on her bed looking sick. He probes her to find out if she was okay, to which she responds that she will be fine. Caleb goes out, and after a few minutes he comes back with some medication in an attempt to make her feel better. She obliges and takes the medication, but cannot but notice the great change and improvement in her husband's behavior. She asks Caleb why he is being kind to her, to which he responds by sharing his journey of transformation and how God has changed him using the book his dad sent him. They are both moved to tears as they begin the healing process. On the next day, Catherine discovers that it was not Dr. Keller who had paid for her mom's wheelchair but her husband. She later heads to Caleb's workplace and apologizes for all she had done and begs for forgiveness. The two reunite and embraces each other while kissing as Michael witnesses in joy.
Hey, what are you looking at?
Hey, back up, there ain't nothing to see here.
Wow, what's going on?
Go back to your business, Caleb's in there starting the fire.
Caleb calls back home to tell his father the good news and also joins him later to thank him for not giving up on him. He also leads his wife to Christ at the very spot he was led. The movie ends with the couple renewing their vows for the second time, but this time around as Christians, in a ceremony attended by family and friends.